In the face of a darkness so profound it threatens to swallow all light, where does one find the strength not just to survive, but to fight back? This is not a story about the monsters that lurk in the shadows, but about the extraordinary courage of those who walked through the fire and emerged not unscathed, but with a voice powerful enough to bring an empire of evil to its knees. Our story begins in the sprawling, vibrant heart of America, Chicago, during the early 1980s. It was a time of bold fashion and new music, but beneath the city's energetic pulse, a chilling silence began to spread, a whisper of fear that grew into a collective scream. Women were vanishing, not randomly, but with a terrifying precision. Their disappearances were followed by grim discoveries in quiet alleyways, forgotten fields, and desolate industrial lots. Clara Evans in 1981, Heather Miller and May Lynn in 1982. Each discovery was a fresh wound on the city's soul, and each victim bore the same horrific signature, a brutal, ritualistic mutilation, with the left breast cruelly removed. The press, in a desperate attempt to name the horror, called the perpetrators the Harvest Crew. They were more than killers. They were specters, moving through the city unseen, leaving a trail of unimaginable sorrow and a single, terrifying question: who would be next? The police were chasing ghosts, with no witnesses, no forensic links, and a mounting sense of dread that they were facing an evil unlike any they had ever known. Then, in the suffocating heat of the 1982 summer, the darkness made a mistake. It left a witness. Her name was Isabella Rossi, abducted and subjected to the same hell as the others. She found within herself a primal will to live that defied all odds. She fought, she endured, and she escaped. When she was found, broken but alive, she gave the police their first tangible clue. The monster was not alone. He had accomplices, 3 other men who participated in the nightmare. The specter suddenly had a shape. It was not a lone wolf, but a pack. The investigation, once a stagnant pool of despair, now had a current. But it was another act of breathtaking bravery that would truly turn the tide. Just a few months later, a young woman named Sarah Jenkins was pulled into the same rolling nightmare. She was forced into a van, a dirty, customized vehicle that would become the key to unlocking the entire case. Inside, surrounded by the 4 men, she faced the abyss. Yet, in that moment of ultimate terror, something extraordinary happened. A part of her mind detached, becoming a silent observer, a chronicler of her own horror. She memorized everything: the face of the leader, a man with cold, commanding eyes; the distinct features of his 3 followers; the smell of stale beer and rust inside the van; the specific dents and scratches on its paneling. She burned these details into her memory, a shield of pure focus against the encroaching darkness, and like Isabella, she survived. She escaped. When she spoke to the detectives, her voice, though trembling, was clear and certain. She didn't just give them a description, she gave them a portrait of evil. Her testimony led directly to the arrest of the crew's leader, a charismatic and manipulative man named Marcus Thorne. The city breathed a collective sigh of relief. The monster was caught, but the relief was short-lived. Sarah's testimony was powerful, but without corroborating physical evidence, Marcus Thorne, the architect of so much pain, was released. The darkness was back on the streets, and the flicker of hope seemed to be extinguished. For the detectives, it was a soul-crushing blow, but they refused to surrender. They knew Sarah was telling the truth. They just had to find the proof. The breakthrough came from the most mundane of places: a crumpled hotel bill found among Marcus's possessions during his initial arrest. It was a single thread, but they pulled on it with everything they had. The bill led them to a small, unassuming hotel on the outskirts of the city. The owner, a man with a keen eye and a sense of unease he couldn't shake, remembered Marcus Thorne well. He spoke of the strange, unsettling energy around the man. The way his friends would come and go at all hours. The hushed, intense conversations. He told investigators he suspected Marcus was involved in some kind of dark cult. His intuition, his willingness to speak up about something that just felt wrong, reignited the investigation. The hotel records provided the names they desperately needed: Leo Vance and 2 brothers, Robert and Daniel Cole. The pack now had names. With the accomplices identified, the wall of silence began to crumble. The youngest, Daniel Cole, was brought in for questioning. Faced with the relentless pressure of the truth, he broke, and the story he told was more depraved than anyone could have possibly imagined. He confessed everything. He described how they would bring women to Marcus's hotel room, a place Marcus chillingly referred to as his satanic chapel. There, in that profane space, the crew would commit their unspeakable acts of torture, rape, and murder. Daniel's confession confirmed the investigators' darkest fears and painted Marcus Thorne as a figure of pure, unadulterated evil. It was Marcus, he testified, who performed the final ritual on their victims. It was Marcus who removed the left breast, consuming part of it in a grotesque parody of a sacrament. And it was Marcus who kept the other parts as trophies, storing 15 severed breasts in a wooden box, a personal collection of his conquests. The confession even detailed Marcus's depraved acts with the bodies of his victims long after their lives had been extinguished. The trial that followed was a reckoning. Marcus Thorne, though the clear mastermind, was a cunning manipulator, with direct proof of his hand in the murders being difficult to establish. He was convicted on the powerful testimonies of the survivors for attempted murder, aggravated kidnapping, and sexual assault. He was sentenced to 120 years in prison, a cage for the monster, if not a final end. Leo Vance, one of the followers, pleaded guilty to 4 murders to escape the death penalty, claiming he was merely a pawn, a weak man hypnotized by Marcus's dark charisma. He received a life sentence without the possibility of parole. The older brother Robert Cole was also sentenced to life, but in a separate trial for the murder of Heather Miller, details of his particularly heinous actions with her body so horrified the jury that they sentenced him to death. And then there was Daniel Cole, the confessor. His detailed testimony, his lack of a prior criminal record, and a clinically low IQ spared him the death penalty. He was sentenced to 70 years in prison. He served his time, and in 2019, he was released. Today, one of the Harvest crew walks free. The legacy of this case is a chilling reminder of the depths of human depravity. It is a scar on the soul of a city, but to focus only on the darkness is to miss the true lesson of this story. This is a testament to the indomitable power of the human spirit. It is the story of Isabella Rossi and Sarah Jenkins, 2 women who were dragged to the gates of hell, and not only found their way back, but brought back the evidence needed to lock the gatekeeper away. Their courage, their refusal to be silenced, was the light that shattered the shadows. It is the story of diligent investigators who refused to give up, and of an ordinary hotel owner who trusted his gut and spoke up. It proves that evil thrives in silence, but withers in the face of courage. The nightmare of the Harvest crew serves as a stark warning that darkness can re-emerge, but the story of its downfall is an eternal, inspirational truth. One voice, speaking the truth, can be louder than an army of monsters, and that is a light that can never be extinguished.